It looks like I do.
All right, and switching over to the YouTube channel, and we should be live. Hello, YouTube. Long time no see.
I mean, it's been a minute, you know.
For me, at least. I mean, you tried to sneak in there for. Well, I guess that was before the last show, right? The interview. The interview technically dropped at the same time as the show almost. So yeah, I mean, we had a full week off.
But yeah, I mean, we premiered it, just right before our regular recording. But yeah, good to be back, of course.
But Overwatch did not take any time off. They took like 3 days, and then I don't know if I want to call it the hype machine, but the machine started turning again.
Yeah.
All right, we should be good to go.
All right, let me start the backup recording really quick. That is good. All right. Mute my phone. Let me pop out Twitch chat or the YouTube chat just in case. I keep forgetting I gotta go to the dots. To bring it out. All right. Let's do this damn thing.
Let's do it.
What's up, nerds, and welcome back to Heroes Never Die, your one-stop spot for all things competitive Overwatch and Overwatch 2. If you're joining us tonight for our live show on YouTube, welcome to the show. And of course, we do want to thank all of our heroes that are listening to via the audio format on your favorite podcatcher of choice. I, of course, am your host, Humbly Drunk, and joining me this week, as always, is my co-host, Spyder. Spyder, we already mentioned, had a little bit of a break due to Thanksgiving. There's definitely been a lot of stuff that lined up pretty good with when we were set to record at our regular slot. So nice to have all the season 2 information on hand outside of whatever balance changes are going to be on the way with it. But we got a roadmap. We know Ramattra's full kit now. Some of the questions that we had about his kit have been answered, which is great. We also got we know the new mythic skin. We have some limited events that are happening. We know when the next 2 events are going outside of the Olympus event. So a lot of great stuff happening in a short span of time. And of course, obviously, you and I have both kind of been busy with another Blizzard title since there's kind of a launch here earlier in the week.
Yeah, there was a small indie game known as World of Warcraft launched its the 17th, I don't know at this point, expansion, and it's all about I think flying lizards. I don't know. I haven't paid it. I didn't read the quest text. I just power leveled to 70 and started doing dungeons because that's the content I enjoy. But as much as I'd love to talk about World of Warcraft, we have so much to talk about because like we said in the pre-show, the Overwatch took a day or 2 off, and then it just that machine started turning, and it hasn't stopped, and it's led to some pretty interesting revelations in the Overwatch League sphere. Whereas I think the actual Overwatch 2 side of things is going to be much more positive, whereas the Overwatch League side of things might be a little bit of a downer. The Doomers, it brings the Doomers out in full force, but we got to report on it at least. So I guess that's probably where we should start. Let's start on the low note and on Annihilation.
Well, I think just for the ebb and flow of the conversation, we gotta hit high and then we go low and then we go high again. So for those that have not had the opportunity to check out our interview recently, I sat down with Faro voice actor Jen Cohn a couple of weeks ago alongside Ren and Tink. So, we premiered that right before our last episode. So, if you guys have not had an opportunity to check it out, please go do so. And if you enjoyed that, well, good news. We have another interview slotted here in a couple of weeks with Anjali Bhamani, who is a voice actor for Symmetra. So that'll be happening on December. I want to say it was 15th. It was another Thursday. Go figure. So I'll be sitting down with her then. So really looking forward to that as well. We'll probably end up doing something very similar to what we did with our last interview in regards to like when we're showing it on, premiering on YouTube. But stay tuned for that. So just a couple of weeks away on that front, and greatly looking forward to that. But of course, we got to talk about what's been going on with the Overwatch League here in recent weeks. So obviously, we had like the roster construction rules. We spatted out like all of these key dates that are going to be going on with the free agency window, and basically, this happened not once now, but twice. Those dates have kind of shifted. And of course,
Mm,
it stems from a lot of the Activision Blizzard titles, uh, potentially, the NetEase deal that we talked about on a prior episode going away in China.
yeah.
So what we have seen is a number of the APAC teams, the teams out of the East, have basically just outright released everyone. I know that's
Yeah.
not true for all of them, but I know Shanghai Dragons and Seoul Dynasty are definitely among them. Of course, we'll talk about that here in just a bit. But due to this level of uncertainty, like we have no idea what's going to happen with APAC right now. We got contenders Korea and stuff going on right now, but it seems like once again, like the free agent window has moved to December 23rd. The 5-player minimum at this point has shifted to March 13th. And we had Sean Miller announcing it earlier today, and of course, with the news dropping kind of like at the 11th hour, because like that window was set to close like in a day, basically.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of team executives attached to the league who have just been spouting off, and like I completely understand the viewpoint
Yeah.
that Pre had earlier today, but man, like hearing this again after we already saw that shift once, there was already a lot of uncertainty, and with another move, it just magnifies it tenfold.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the China stuff going on, I forget who said it. I really wish I could really remember. It was someone else in Overwatch, the Overwatch scene, that it was basically like, look, the Overwatch League has zero to do with China, like the Chinese deal. Like they have to be like 100% reactive. It's they're at the mercy of the big Blizzard machine and the China deal. So what it falls on is it falls on communication, and they definitely dropped the ball for communication, because the original deadline was tomorrow, or like tonight at midnight or something. I forget the exact timing of it, but it was sometime tomorrow. And for teams to find out this late, it is definitely like a kick in the pants, just because a lot of teams had been scrambling, either going super budget or scooping up what they could in the last minute, and then they're come to find out, a few hours before that deadline that, oh, you actually had a little bit more time. So there have already been contracts handed out. We obviously don't know the specifics, but we do know that kind of stuff has happened, just based on the other tweets that have been going on, especially like Pre was, the big one that was like, teams have already been built around this existing, structure rule that we thought was going to go into place. So it sucks. The big thing to me, basically makes me think that they pushed the league back further
Hmm.
than they wanted to, because obviously that's the one thing that was never announced, was like a start date. We had heard rumblings and we reported on it, as we heard them, like maybe February, excuse me. But now looking at like this timeline, we may be looking at a longer off season than they expected, and that's not going to help either. So I don't know. This whole situation just kind of sucks. Obviously, I wish they would communicate with us more, but they definitely need to communicate with the teams more, and I hope to see at least them acknowledge that, because even Sean Miller was like, oh well, there's a lot of moving parts, and blah 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 blah. Like, it was all 100% PR speak. There was no like, yeah, we he could have acknowledged that they fucked over the teams. Like, he doesn't have to say it like that. Be like, look, we understand teams are building, and this is really crappy of us, but unfortunately, due to the nature of, you could have PR speaked an apology and it would have been better than this. This was basically just ignoring that and saying, here's what we're doing, here's what's going to happen, bye. So it could have been handled a lot better, and he's rightfully getting flack for this. The whole league is getting it, but obviously, being the mouthpiece, he is going to get the biggest flack. And I am full support of this league, but man, you get what's coming to you if you fuck up this bad.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before he starts getting booed, just like the NFL commissioner.
I'm not touching.
Could happen.
I'm not touching that one. That's a whole nother debate.
Absolutely, but of course, we have seen pivots from teams either going full budget, dropping the entirety of the roster, really only having like maybe 1-2 people as a whole. And I think the only other tidbit that surfaced here this past week that probably blew up more of a storm compared to this was New York Excelsior's plans for their roster for the 2023 season. Now, we were talking about this a little bit on our Discord, and we've seen a lot of like community figures kind of like stepping in and voicing their opinions on what exactly this would mean in regards to just the competitive scene as a whole. But basically, the Excelsior were looking to form a team of marginalized genders for next season. So, right now, we have the Calling All Heroes tournament that was going on, which had a ton of female players and marginalized gender players as well. And, that was kind of like a put on by Blizzard. It had great production. You saw a lot of familiar faces in regards to like the analysts and the shoutcasters as well. But the problem is, like, if we're pivoting towards this direction at the Overwatch League level, there is a very distinct difference between some of the best players who are in the marginalized gender. So like Aspen, for example, is probably like the one female player that a lot of people will look at as being Overwatch League ready. And then there's just a very steep gap between where she's currently at and where a lot of the other like quote like tier 1 or tier 2 players are at that fit this category. So if we were put into a position where all of a sudden these players are getting thrust into the spotlight, obviously they're going to be under a microscope. And I know they were talking about like hiring like a team psychologist, and sure, that can help to like a degree, but just the amount of pressure that players are put under at the Overwatch League ready, but then to like add on the fact that they're just going to be under the microscope, I don't think just having like a psychologist on hand is going to make that much of a difference in the long run, because we've seen like with the show match. I mean, you and I were talking about this the other day, just how one-sided that show match was that was put on in regards to you basically had a team that was like all tier 1 pros essentially versus a stream team, and this stream team which
that was rough
had
to
Kefri got absolutely shit on.
I mean,
there's no other way to put it.
From a competitive integrity, it was rough to watch. From an enjoyment factor, it was way more entertaining than I could have ever asked for. But to like this story, as like a cis white male, I am like the last person that has any say on this. So I will keep this short and simple. should everybody get to play? Absolutely. Should everybody, like these underrepresented genders just be put in for a novelty? No, I think that kind of disservices, the whole movement. And like I said, obviously I'm the last person that should talk about this, but it has been done in the past, so this isn't a new thing. And it has never fared well when you put it in there, whether it's underrepresented genders, whether it's stream teams, whether it's whenever you make a play for novelty, regardless of whatever PR you get, it ends badly. Maybe not so much for the organization, though I would make an argument for that, but definitely for the players. And that's you're looking at a personal cost at this point. And I don't want this team to come out, do Shanghai season one it, while getting shit on, because there are going to be people that hate on them regardless of if they do well or not. But if they don't do well, it's going to be even worse. And these are people's lives, these are players' lives. Like, some of these players could have made it to Overwatch League, or some of these players may be Overwatch League ready, but throwing them in this kind of situation is going to end their careers. Like, unless something phenomenal happens. We're talking like Rudy level of stories, like Blindside level of stories, the once in a lifetime sports success they make movies about kind of stories. The personal cost is so high. You're better off just spending $53,000 for shit players running a shit team, and boosting this as a side project. Like, hey, we're the New York Excelsior, here's our shit team, but we also have this collective where we're raising up and coming players of underrepresented genders, and we hope to someday get them in the Overwatch League. To just throw them in the Overwatch League, I don't know. I didn't like the article when it came out. I still don't like it. Other people may feel differently, and there are definitely other people in these underrepresented genders that have more say in it than me. So I'll start it the same way. I'll end it the same way I started it. I'm not the one to be having this conversation. It's just, to me, it leaves a real bad taste in my mouth.
Yep. And just put that money towards calling all heroes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how can you have something that's working so well and so positive, and then be like, well, what would be great? Like, why doesn't somebody be like, no, that's a fucking terrible idea. Like, just put money into the tier 2 or tier 3 scene and do that. Like, if you want to fund a contenders team of underrepresented genders, absolutely, just because that would A, get more exposure to tier 2, and B, help these players that even if they're close to Al level, which we don't know. The calling all like Challengers Cup, the skill disparity in some of the teams has been pretty stark, and it's hard to tell what the actual skill level is. So I don't want to comment on skill too much, but none of them look Overwatch League ready. Like, none of them, if they ran against proper, I think would have a chance.
Yeah.
So I think putting the money elsewhere is the right call. But New York has done dumb things in the past, and Overwatch League teams have done dumb things in the past. And this is, like I said, this has happened in other esports, so maybe this is just Overwatch's turn.
Yeah, unfortunately, that very well could be the case, but we'll have to wait and see when some signings actually occur for New York side of things. Now, that being said, of course, we have our continuation of roster apocalypse, and not as heavy as a week as we have had in weeks past, but Titans basically went out and dropped everyone except one player. They have re-signed Aspire. We have Justice releasing the entirety of their roster. Defiant release Finale, Hotba, and Showrun. Dynasty, basically everyone's a free agent at this point. So no one currently listed on the roster. Uprising released Crimso, Punk, and Valentine. We have Rain with quite a bit of movement. They released Kai. They traded for Stalker from the Soul Dynasty. They signed Lip, formerly of the Shanghai Dragons. Then they also re-signed Vigilante and Hawk. We have Dragons releasing Izayaki. And earlier today, we also saw the Outlaws part ways with Dante. So that was basically the bulk of like the actual player movement. And again, like right now, obviously the uncertainty of the East is leading like us to not really have 100% certainty about like, well, what's going to happen to the East players or what's going to happen to APAC as a whole. Like right now, we honestly just have no idea. So it's really hard to like comment on some of these, knowing that this 2023 season could see just a gigantic shift in regards to just going full budget across the board.
Yeah. So I was looking to see if Dante actually posted anything about, being released, and he just posted like the generic thank you. So that's kind of boring. Um, we might learn more about that later when he gets on his stream and has a little bit of the spicy water, as he sometimes does on streams. But speaking of like the roster apocalypse and stuff like this, at this point, what what is there really to say? Like we almost have to take the plat chat approach and just do like a fantasy draft, because honestly, at this point, any team who wants a legitimate shot at the championship can just buy it. Like the amount of players that are on the field, you can literally just almost buy the championship, at least a very good shot at it. And I am sure there are some teams out there like Dallas, like the Shock, maybe even Seoul, I don't know, that are, doing that sunk cost fallacy of like, well, we could definitely sell more merchandise if we win the championship. So, do I have anything to say about these individual players being released other than Dante? None of this shocked me. Like Dante shocked me when I read that. I was literally outside. We were out shopping, and I got pinged with it, and I was like, "Wait, what? Like this can't be real." Like this, he was like the lifeblood of the Outlaws. The past 4 years, and definitely the past year. So that one shocked me. And the fact that they announced it now makes me think that they just couldn't come to like a contract agreement, because it seems weird that they would hold off on that news. Like that's something you either want to get out of the way early, or you want to wait till like the very last minute. And when it was announced today, it would have been the very last minute before Sean Miller's tweet. So, to me, that says like it was definitely like they just couldn't come together and come to an agreement kind of thing. And, more power, if that's the case, more power to Dante, because he was in a strong bargaining spot, because he basically carried that team last year. Him and Merritt were like the linchpins of that team. So we'll see who they pull in. Maybe they will bring Pelican and Piggy back, now that Dante is gone. Like who knows what we're gonna see. But yeah, that one shocked me, honestly. Prophet being a free agent, I guess, is the other big one. I don't have a lot to say about that, just because of the fact that he's still a phenomenal player, but he wasn't like, I don't know. I don't know if it was coaching, because they just tried to put him on every role except for tank, it seemed. Which why would you do that when you have Smurf? But he just, this past season, he didn't like wow me. Like he was like I would, if you were doing like baseball, or just percentages, he would be like an 80% player. Like if you're picking a card in FIFA or Madden or any of the sports games that I haven't played in 10 years, and building a fantasy team, he would be like your core like 85 player. Like he's better than average, he's consistently good, but he's not like the proper, he's not like the 99, he's not the guy that's broken last season. So I think he will be good if he continues to play. Like, this could be his time to to bow out gracefully as well. But we'll have to see. Unfortunately, I kind of up until tonight, or a couple hours ago, I was kind of like, okay, this is the last show where we do roster apocalypse, and then we're gonna start getting signings, and Atlanta Reign's not gonna be the only one posting cryptic Twitter messages hinting at shows that are 20 years old that somehow relate to a person that they signed. But now we're gonna have to wait. Hang on, let me check the calendar. 3 months. 3 months before we get that news. So I guess we always have what is this? Battle for Olympus to keep us busy.
Yeah, thankfully for that. And now that like 85% of the players have been dropped, our new segment, at least for releases, should really diminish at this point. But I keep saying that every week, and then more and more things continue to happen. But yeah, we're definitely like at the point now where we could do like a draft type discussion in regards to the free agency window. The other thing I wanted to bring up is we have the new head coach sign in for the Las Vegas team, who may or may not go by the Eternal, which they probably won't, because why would they? They have signed Empress, which when I saw this, like I was so thrilled, because she has been an absolute unit in regards to contenders and just being a championship caliber coach. She has done work with Phase 2. She's been on Square One, Triumph. She has been she was with Odyssey most recently, but like if you look at her like Wikipedia, like everything in like the past 2 years has all been like top place finishes. She hasn't had anything below a third place since 2020. So like in regards to someone getting the nod to like move up to the Overwatch League at a coach level, this is really like the winningest coach that we have seen step up and get an opportunity. And it's also the first female head coach signed for the Overwatch League as well, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, by far. I mean, going into this roster apocalypse and this burn it to the ground and rebuild, everybody was like, okay, you need to sign her. Like her her stats speak for herself, her results speak for herself. Like at this point, any team that scoops her up is going to be lucky to have her, especially going into a season where fuck all of who you're going to play against. I mean, I'm sure the teams have an idea, but you don't know how things are going to shake out. So honestly, this is a huge signing for Paris. Now they just need to give her somewhat of a halfway talented roster to work with. As we expect, most teams are going to go budget. So kind of what this does is this levels the playing field for most of the teams. Like I said, I said this earlier, if you want a championship, you could almost buy it this season. So you're going to have a couple of teams that are going to be pretty big hurdles to overcome if they choose to invest. Some teams, that I'm trying not to fall into the capitalist plot, but theoretically, right, this could level the playing field. Teams may splurge on a proper, obviously proper is not going anywhere, but teams may splurge on a couple of backline players or, a DPS, and then do like mid-table or lower than mid-table the rest of the team if they know what they're going up against. Hopefully teams still can do that now that they have more free agency time and maybe contracts are being renegotiated. We don't know. Some teams may be 100% locked into, contracts and just be shit, but that happens when you move the goalpost in the 11th hour. But this is a huge signing for Paris. Like this, Paris announcing their move, I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. Paris announcing their new roster midway through last season, I was like, okay, well, it can't be any worse than their old roster. It was kind of just as worse as their old roster, if not worse. And so this signing gives me hope because we've seen what good coaches can do with underperforming teams. Like, just look at the Titans last season. Not that Matt, it's literally like a Remember the Titans situation all over again, to quote a old movie pun. But yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say about this till we know more of what she's working with, but good for Paris for picking her up early.
Absolutely, and it's good to at least have a step forward, because Paris definitely had their fair share of struggles throughout the entirety of the season. So to see them being like, okay, we're gonna try to shake this mentality. Let's go out. Let's sign someone who has had a very successful career at the coach level, to give her an opportunity. So I'm really curious to see what direction they're going to take this team with. But just happy for Empress as a whole to actually get the opportunity to showcase what she brings to the table at the Overwatch League already level. So that being said, I know there were like a couple of other things that did happen, like coach wise. I don't have it in here, but Atlanta basically like, oh yeah, Gator, yeah, he's our new coach. And I saw that, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, what is going on over in Atlanta? I think you're muted.
I am muted, and I made such a great joke, but basically I was saying he lost all his money in crypto, so now he had to go back and get a real job. So I don't know. He seems to fit well with the team. So with Brad stepping down, keeping somebody internal, and they have said in the past, like multiple players have said that he kind of filled a coach role when he wasn't playing anyway. So cool. I mean, I love to see players get promoted to coach, or at least stay in the ecosystem. And I have been very adamant that I'm not the biggest fan of Gators play, our personality, but he does know Overwatch, and he is very smart about Overwatch. So I think he'll do well with this team. Am I as hyped as I am for Paris in Atlanta? No. Like I respect Gator, but he doesn't have the track record as a coach. Hopefully, he proves me wrong, because I want to see all teams do well, even Atlanta.
Yeah, absolutely. So competitive Overwatch wise, that's basically all the Overwatch League stuff. Just as a reminder, like all of Contenders is basically ongoing. I know Korea is in their playoffs. And if you're wondering, just a quick update on that, O2 Blast only dropped one map the entire season, and yeah, they're probably most likely going to win. Just based off of that. But everything's underway at least, though. So if you guys want to get your Contender skins, go tune into some T2.
I unfortunately have watched one match of Contenders Korea, and then life happened and everything else happened, and I have never gone back. I have kept up with the scores, and every time I'm like, I'm gonna watch O2 Blast, and then I see them just blow people out, and I'm like, okay, I'm not. Like, when am I gonna like? Are they still sticking with the hog? Like, are they mostly running Roadhog still, or have they?
To be honest, I miss like a week, so I don't know if they're still doing that. I'll have to see what they're running in the playoffs, because basically like they had 4 other teams play in, and they had like the bye.
Okay. Point. So but yeah, they like the matches I've seen and the clips I've seen, it's not pretty. Like they're so far ahead of the other teams. Like I just, I don't know. I'm like, I really want to watch it, but I just do it. Is it worth the time at this point? Like, I'll probably watch the playoffs when they show up on the YouTube channel, but that that's about it.
Right on. Well, with that being said, of course, we have to go around to watch and see what's happening on the Overwatch 2 front. Turns out quite a lot. It's been a busy week. So for starters, last episode we were talking about like their South Korea event that Blizzard was putting on. They also had like a little event happening in Japan, and at this event, they basically teased us with this 45-second clip, which was anime style, which featured Kiriko. So the anime showed glimpses of Kiriko's childhood, of course, with her Kitsune spirit companion, as well as her present life as a ninja. And the animation was produced by Anishiya, who had also did the animation for Ed Sheeran's Celestial video. And of course, as soon as this hit, everyone was like freaking the fuck out. Like everyone's like, "Oh my god, we're gonna get an Overwatch anime!" And then, you
Mm,
had that bitter pill to swallow,
hmm.
and basically like, "Hey, this was just kind of like a sample. Nothing's actually gonna come out of this." And everyone was just like, "Son of a bitch."
Yeah, exactly. The same thing. Like people forget so fast. Like the same exact thing happened with the Doomfish short, um, and that was much longer than
Mm-hmm.
this. But you hate to see it because this is beautifully animated, which probably costs like a metric butt ton of money to animate it as well as they did for that small amount of time. But this could definitely be one of those cases where Blizzard was like, nothing's going to come of this. We have nothing in the works. Whereas we know in the past, and I'm sure it's slowed down with, all the Blizzard stuff that happened over the last couple of years and the Microsoft deal being up in limbo. But we do know at one point they were talking with Netflix about
Mm-hmm.
an animated show, whether it's an anime or 3D animated or anything else. We never heard, and they may frankly have not known. But this is definitely like a strong proof of concept. And if you've paid attention to anything in the past 5 years, if you have a strong proof of concept, you might have a chance of getting it picked up. I mean, we've seen it with other animated stuff on YouTube. We've seen it with movies with Deadpool. That's how the Deadpool movie got made. So, uh, you know, the, uh, as much as I have to be a realist and be like, we're never going to get an Overwatch anime, there still is a little tiny bit of hope that, they keep putting these out like, come on, guys, we have a lot of lore and we really don't know how to tell it. So if an anime studio wants to pick it up and help us out, we'd appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really well done. I do hope we get to see more, but the optimism is low, but it is there.
Yeah, I remember getting like the Twitter notification on my phone about it, and it said like Kiriko anime, and I pulled up the video, and I was like completely mystified by it and like drawn in. And then as soon as I finished watching it, I scrolled through the replies, and that's when I saw like, oh yeah, this is just proof of concept, and I immediately threw my phone. It's just one of those things. I'm like, son of a bitch. You
Yeah.
know, here's the thing. At the end of the day, like we have seen, you know, other games turn into, animated series on Netflix. We have Edge Runners. We've seen the success of it, and we're like, man, that would be badass if Overwatch had something similar. And then, obviously, like the
Mm,
DVE stuff, they're like, oh yeah, it's coming in 2023, but yeah, we're not going to have anything to show you about that for a while. So then the whole time you're just like, well, where's our lore going to come into play? Outside of a short story or potential novels along the way. So to just see that and just be like so drawn in, only to have to peel back a little bit.
yeah.
It's
It's
we're
sad.
we're kind of we're kind of numb to the pain at this point, in regards to stuff like this. And hopefully one day, we'll get a series of sorts, whether it is a web
Hmm.
series or whether it is on a streaming service. But the time for that unfortunately is not now.
Look, if I get another shitty short story in a PDF, I'm gonna fucking scream, okay? Look, regardless of how good they are, that is not the medium you want to put out your lore in. I mean, you can talk business about this real easily. Look at Arcane, look at Edge Runners. The return on investment on those two alone have been phenomenal. Like they straight up said, like, Legends of Runeterra playtime upticked almost 200% in the weeks after Arcane episodes released. They didn't give League of Legends metrics, but I'm sure those upticked as well. Edge Runners, when Edge Runners came out, it brought Cyberpunk back from the brink of death. The Steam numbers the week after Edge Runners came out was higher than it had ever been. And that doesn't take into account the people who bought it on Epic Games Store, like myself, because I'm a dumbass. But it was on sale. Okay, but there is a strong business return on investment argument that could be made here, and this is not the time to have that. But come on, Blizzard or Microsoft or whoever is going to own this in a year, just put the money down and you'll get it back in fucking anime skins real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got that. We also had the game director Aaron Keller basically confirming some of the community suspicions in regards to Tracer and her damage fall off. Really not, coming into effect until 20 meters beyond. So Tracer could, actually be a decent amount away without, any negated, damage with her pulse pistols. And despite that, they're like, you know what, this is fine. It's not game breaking. It's not to the level of what we saw out of like Bastion or Torbjorn or May, where all three of them had been disabled at different points in the Overwatch 2 life cycle at this point in time. And they're like, yeah, we'll get to it down the line. And when the bug does get fixed, because it is a bug, we'll look to do a couple of other balance changes when it gets patched in. On top of that too, kind of like make up for that, because players are kind of just used to that level of damage at this point in time. Now, am I saying that this makes Tracer completely viable? No. I mean, Tracer is decent, but it doesn't make her a must play regardless of the damage fall off bug that she is currently experiencing. But it's good to at least have confirmation from Team 4 about it, rather than us just being like, oh my god, Tracer stuff buffed in the mid-season patch.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make her broken, but it's definitely noticeable. Like there have been multiple games where I've played against good Tracers, and it is 100% noticeable. Especially as a tank. I think, DPS, you're kind of dueling it out with her anyway. You can notice it, but as a tank, like, she's just so far away and she's just like hammering you with damage. It's insane. So I don't put her as broken, because she's still a very high skill cap character. And if you're bad at her, she's really easy to kill. But at the end of the day, this does need to get fixed, because this is not intended how she's supposed to play. Like, she's supposed to be up in your face, like high risk, high reward, whereas this definitely removes some of the risk while still giving you that high damage reward. And her pulse bomb still builds insanely fast, so you can literally, not that this is the way you should play her, but you could literally pepper like a tank until you get a pulse bomb and throw out a pulse bomb every fight. Like, because I've seen it happen multiple games at this point.
It's basically any game that has a Roadhog.
Which
is like 90% of them.
If that Roadhog can't land a hook, or if the DPS can't push her out fast enough, it is a problem. But them acknowledging it, good. Them not removing her, I think, is a little unfair, because as a May player, I was a little pissed off when my favorite character got removed. Now, granted, I get it, walls that people can walk through.
Okay, and also, May is not, the flagship hero of Overwatch.
Well, maybe she should be, and then maybe people would not hate her as much. But no, biases aside, this bug is basically just an unintended buff at this point. Like, it's not game breaking like the wall was. It's not game breaking like the infinite ultimate was. It's not game breaking like turrets in the wall was. So you know, is it annoying to play against? Absolutely, but you know, this is fine. I'm glad they are looking at her because she was one of the heroes that I kind of wished would get a buff in season 2, because she did need some help. And you know, they did. It's not in the notes, but they did talk about some of the other heroes they're looking at, like Bastion, Symmetra, Junker Queen, Ana. You know, some of the characters that they're kind of looking at in season 2 to give buffs. They did talk about Sojourn nerfs, which I know is like the big one. They basically hinted or almost confirmed that there's going to be damage fall off on her railgun, but nothing set in stone on that. So we'll see what kind of heavy-handed nerfs she'll get. But I am glad that Tracer is included in that list because, like you said, not only is she the face of the franchise, but she's a character a lot of people like to attempt to play, to mixed results. But she can be very fun, and you know, at least they're talking to us.
Yep, we'll see how long that continues though. Because you just never know when it comes to Blizzard. But anyways, of course, you know, beyond that, we had a lot of the season 2 reveals that happened over like the past like 4 or 5 days at this point. So we had our Ramattra gameplay trailer. We also kind of had like a short. I'm not even gonna call it a developer update because it was more just them talking about the abilities. You know, it wasn't like a full blown dev update like what we are used to seeing. So you know, we first of all, let's talk about the gameplay trailer. There was a moment in this trailer that everyone is kind of just, I'm not gonna say everyone, a certain part of the community sees Ramattra standing over Mercy, who is for lack of a better term, downed.
Grounded.
And she's like looking up, looking up at Ramattra. And you look at Twitter, and all the replies are like, yeah, Blizzard knows what they're doing. Or like, we know what the next scene is. And I'm just like, of course, the community is going to take it in that direction. But, you know, I love like the knee-jerk reaction of like, oh my god, Team 4 kills Mercy in Overwatch 2, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I always take these gameplay trailers with a grain of salt. Like, I have it up on the feed right now, because they're so like super staged. But yeah, the scene, it's actually getting to it right now where he just slow walks up to Mercy and Mercy's like kneeling down. It definitely like reminds me of I paused it like 1 second too late, but yeah. It is what it is. Like, they definitely know how to hype up a character. Like, I watched that gameplay trailer. I was like, oh my god, Ramattra's the best character ever. If only for the fact that finally, as a tank, I have a way to deal with the pharmacy in a controlled, regular fashion. But the second reason I'm excited about Ramattra is he basically has a May wall. So you know, do with that what you will. You know, you can walk through it, but other than that, the targeting looks exactly the same. So I'm already good at that. So that's what, 3% of the kit mastered already. I am well on my way to being a Ramattra main. But the gameplay trailer was really cool. Like, you know, they always do a good job of showcasing the abilities and making them look stupidly overpowered. Which, if the recent hero releases are any indication, they probably are stupidly overpowered. We'll see how easy it is to ground a pharmacy. You know, how strong that shield is, because again, that's not something you can really get out of the gameplay trailer, because he one shots everything and the shield never breaks. You know, it's kind of stuff that you just don't get a good feel for. So I'm looking forward to some actual numbers next week. But you know, the only sticking point of this, and you sent this to me first, and the more I watch it, is just the feedback on his primary fire is so lacking. Like he's literally just, I don't know. I feel like there's even more feedback on like May's left click than it was with that. Like it's almost like you're shooting them with like a water gun, and not like a good one. Like just like one of those shitty like dollar store water guns where you're just like ha ha ha, and it like bleh, and you're like, oh, that was it, you know, kind of thing. So maybe they did. I can't remember where I read it, but they did mention somewhere that it almost has the same effect as Kiriko's primary fire, that it does increase damage as a critical. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. So that's interesting. They did also mention that it has like a slowish travel time. So if you're up close next to somebody, you can really start hammering the damage, which seemed really weird because they were like, this is his poke form. Like, okay, so what? Like you're supposed to run in a Nemesis and then, you know, switch out of Nemesis and then like poke him down as you're running away scared. Like I don't know. Like I have a lot of questions about his kit that we will answer when, you know, I finally get to play test him, and drop that sweet moolah on that battle pass. But in terms of the video was great.
Yeah, and you know, there was a screen grab that I grabbed for a meme template with Ramattra just punching someone out of the way. It was Kiriko, and Kiriko's like falling back, like doing the Matrix scene. Fantastic. I'm definitely going to be using that a ton. So yeah, with the dev update, we kind of got like a closer look at all the abilities and like what they actually do. And you know, they basically confirmed like, yes, Ramattra is the game's first tempo tank. We do know that, you know, as you're mentioning, like the primary fire with the staff, which is the Void Accelerator, it shoots a stream of like nanites. But you know, the hit indicator on that is just like so wonky. You know, even just like watching like the initial gameplay, I'm like, I can't really tell if this is actually registered in because it doesn't really make that much of a noise. So hopefully at least like the criticals will be more noticeable, but just as a whole, you know, just not a great indicator right out of the gate. But outside of that, like one of our bigger questions was, well, how is Nemesis form actually going to work? And we did get confirmation that it does only last for 8 seconds. That was one of the biggest question marks that we had in regards to, you know, the Korea event where, you know, the abilities were leaked. And, you know, we also had the question about his ultimate, which was like the reverse transcendence, which is annihilation. So it basically lashes out towards the enemies. So it deals constant damage, and basically there's a timer on the ability, and it pauses whenever an enemy is getting hit by it. So we'll just continue to tick as long as it is latched onto someone. You know, just looking at the movement in regards to like dev update, seems like it's not going to be speed runs Zenyatta,
No
like what we're
zoomies
kind of
for
used to seeing.
Ramattra. He definitely looks like he's moving normal speed though, because that was our other question: is he slowed down while it happens? And they specifically showed it. It actually just I couldn't have timed that better, but it just up on the stream like he's basically running with the enemy team as they're trying to kite away from him. So that's good news, because you know you could be in there and you pop it, and if you were slowed down, which this could happen as a balancing thing. Like I definitely think they could reduce his speed if this proves to be too strong. But it's good to see that they're at least trying it like this, because I think this increases its effectiveness. So again, we need to know damage, because these staged videos don't really give us a good indication of what it really is. They do show more in this video, so even though it's very quick, and not as wordy as we were used to in the Jeff Kaplan era days of dev updates, it does at least give us a better look at like actual numbers, you know, in quotation marks, because they do show like the damage differences in primary and critical hits, and you know the nanite vortex, and how fast heroes are dying to Annihilation, but until you actually get to feel it in like a real game setting, it's going to be hard to tell. But other than that lack of feedback, which that may just be like we're watching the video, so there's a disconnect there. Maybe the feedback will be better while you're playing him, or maybe they've heard that because I've seen other people echo this as well. Then maybe everything will be great. But in terms of the other abilities, everything else is great.
Absolutely. And I will also note that like when they sent the tweet out about Ramattra and they had like the infographic about the abilities, there was a mention of with Annihilation, whenever an enemies get affected by it, that they deal reduced damage by like 25%. That is not actually the case. So you're not having all the damage being done to you and then also dealing less damage if you're getting affected by the Annihilation. Because I know that was a big reason for concern, or an eyebrow raiser for a lot of people. But good to know that it's not actually the case, so don't have to worry about too much on that front.
So,
but as you said, just looking forward to checking out Ramattra when season 2 drops, which right around the corner.
So he's only our second tank. Well, I guess third if you count Hammond. That is a purely damaging ultimate, because most tanks, revolve around like setup ultimates. Like even Junker Queens is like a team fight setup ultimate, because you anti-nade everybody, and then they immediately release a hero that invalidated that. But that's a different conversation. But yeah, this being such like a high damaging, ability, I'm thinking like what would go really well with this ability. Blizzard would go really well with this ability, because then you trade out the setup for somebody else. But on the flip side, what this says to me is they need to go back and look at Orisa's ultimate, because this just completely is like, hey, I'm going to do what you do, but better in every possible way. Because even Orisa, like, she sits there for so long, she's taken so much damage, and to charge it all the way up, people have fucking won the map at that point and gone to their next match. But I don't know. I do have a fun clip of an Orisa ultimate that maybe I'll post on our shorts, because I want to start posting shorts on our YouTube, where Orisa used her ultimate on a Sigma, and the Sigma just threw up the shield. It's like, what are you going to do now? And the Orisa charged it all the way up, and then I came behind the Sigma as Zenyatta and just kicked him past the shield, and then he immediately died. And even in chat, he typed, okay, that was good. So I hope this leads to them going back and looking at Orisa, because her ultimate is rough right now, and this ultimate looks amazing.
Absolutely. So of course Ramattra will be dropping with season 2, and we also got the gameplay trailer as well as the roadmap for season 2. So just going over the roadmap really quick. Obviously, we got the new hero. We have a new escort map, which also ties it into Ramattra as well. That is Shambali, which is one of the monasteries. And you already made mention of Team 4 focusing on the lethality of Sojourn's railgun at a distance. So that was mentioned. You already mentioned the other heroes as well that they're looking at. Like Ana is in line for adjustment. Same with Symmetra, Mercy, Kiriko, Junker Queen, Bastion. We also have Rialto and Blizzard Worlds return into the map pool, and a couple of other maps kind of got like the night-day light and change. I can't remember which ones they were, so I don't have that written down. But we have the Greek mythology as the primary theme for season 2. And we also have a new game mode specific for season 2 with the Battle for Olympus, which starts January 5th. So we don't know a whole lot about this, other than the fact that the heroes are imbued with godlike powers. So it could very well just be like a very like hyped up like arcade mode brawl type setup, I would imagine, based off of that. We also have Winter Wonderland starting December 13th. We also have the start date for Lunar New Year. That would be January 17th. So that's a few weeks after Winter Wonderland ends. And of course, with each event, we will have a skin as a reward. In regards to like completed challenges. So, they showed up like Ice Cream Brigida. There was a Winged Victory Mercy. There was also an Echo skin. And of course, we have Twitch drops returning, which is going to be a constant thing for Overwatch 2. And the next drop is going to be for a legendary Ramattra skin, which is pretty cool. And of course, they also mentioned like, hey, like if you miss out on Kiriko, we will be having catch-up hero challenges in order to unlock some of these older heroes. So, like if you skip a season and there was a hero release, you're still able to get them as well. But in regards to, the Greek mythology theme, we do know the mythic skin is for Junker Queen with the Zeus rendition of the skin. And I had to say, like when I saw the skins just in the trailer, I was like so blown away. Like the skins as a whole for season 2 definitely raised the bar. Now, am I gonna say like I'm not agitated by price points still, because some of them are going to be exclusive to the shop? you know of course I'm always going to be nagging about that because they just look so badass and I want all of them. So I'm just like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna have to do like the WoW token conversion or what.
It's rough, man, because first of all, I still have the money video coming out. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Blizzard put out a blog that was basically like, yeah, we're looking at monetization and how we're going to change that with some upcoming changes in season 2. So with the holidays and that blog post, it kind of gave me a pretty good excuse to wait on that until season 2 drops. So I'll be putting that out like at the beginning of season 2, because I don't want to put out a video because honestly, at this point, it's written, it's recorded, and it's almost edited. Like I can actually publish it tonight if I wanted to, but I don't want it to be invalidated in 4 days because they changed some weekly quests or something, because a lot of the math is based on current how we access things and how tough challenges are and how long it takes you to do stuff, because it's money and time are the two currencies that we work with, and that's what I based it on. And then they're like, oh, we're casually going to make things easier for you. Just drop that right in the middle of writing a 3,000 word video with a lot of math. So that'll be coming out probably first week of season 2 once I get a good grasp on timing. But the point of that ramble was some of these skins have to be in the battle pass this time. Like that was their big mistake in season 1 is the skins weren't that great. There were some decent ones, I'll give them that, but all the good skins were in the shop, which if you want to do that, fine. Like I get that, but you got to at least put a couple of the good skins in the battle pass. If you're gonna say the battle pass is Greek gods or Battle of Olympus, and then not put any Greek skins in the battle pass, then it doesn't matter. Which is exactly what they did with the cyberpunk skins. They put one cyberpunk skin in the battle pass. I guess 2 if you count the mythic skin, but it was literally the first skin you get and the last skin you get. Other than that, you got like fucking Explorer Winston and Forest Ranger McCree and shit like that. Okay, I mean they're nice skins, but they're not cyberpunk. Like it should be like a 2-to-1 type of thing. Like if you want to throw a random ass skin in there for a hero, absolutely, but you got to balance it out a little bit. Could you keep some of these skins for the shop? Absolutely. Like this, I have it up on the stream right now. This Poseidon Ramattra skin is absolutely insane. Like it is ridiculous how good that skin looks. The Minotaur Reinhardt skin, sure, put it in the shop. But like the Widowmaker Medusa, the Hermes Lucio, like they're okay. Like they're good skins, but you could throw them in the battle pass easily, and people are like, "Yeah, we got some good skins in the battle pass this time. It might actually be worth it buying." But yeah, we'll wait and see. As far as like the battle for Olympus mode, I know I kind of clowned on it a little earlier. I am excited to see what they do with it because I'm a huge nerd for like Greek gods. So if they actually implement like Greek god-ish powers, like Lucio trails fire behind him because he's Hermes and he's running so fast. You know, if Widowmaker has an ability that can turn you to stone briefly, you know, if Ramattra pulls up a wave, you know, if Junker Queen pulls down a lightning bolt, you know, stuff like that could be really fun. Like every time she swings her swings her axe, you know, it does lightning damage, you know, something like that. Reinhardt's charge, just rather than picking people up, just throws them out of the way, you know, kind of fun stuff. Like there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with this, and I hope they do it, but you know, I don't have high hopes because every time they're like, we have this brand new event, I go, May Snowball offensive. So this, you know, this is their, I guess you could say this is their first totally new event in Overwatch 2. Like obviously Halloween was a new spin on the old event of, you know, the Junker Queen, and we got like a more fleshed out version, but this is like their first time really pumping up like a completely new idea, and tying it to the battle pass I think is a good idea. So I am super pumped to see what they do with it, but at the same time I am fully expecting disappointment, and I am also fully expecting, like, I don't know, snowmobile Anna in the battle pass, and you know, whatever other dumb shit. You know, Ash is a clerical judge, you know, skin, you know, stupid stuff in the battle pass. So, but they're gonna be like, you want that Junker Queen skin because it's awesome, and we do. So here we are.
Wow. Yeah, and you know, just you know, obviously, like outside of that too, a lot of questions remain about like, well, are they going to keep the heroes at, you know, level 55 on the battle pass? We'll have to see on that front. But you know, I'm more curious to see, like, with these limited events, is that going to be a continued thing for each battle pass where they have a new limited event that is fitting of the theme that they are running with the season?
Yeah, I hope they continue it. Fun fact about heroes being at level 55 in the battle pass. Did you know that's 69% of the way through the battle pass? I do.
Wow,
Because
nice.
I did the math. And it's not pretty about the unlock times compared to other games, but you know, that's getting into spoiler territory for the video I did.
Well, as someone who didn't get his Mythic Genji skin until about 5 days ago, we'll see whether or not I get the Junker Queen one any sooner.
Look, I first of all, I hope they've made changes that they've talked about to make it a little easier to progress through the battle pass. Because I definitely point this out in the video, but the current system is really fucking stupid, and not up to par in the market at all. But again, that gets into the video, so we won't get into that here. But I also got my Genji skin within the last week because of that system. So going forward, if it stays somewhat similar, I think what I'm going to do is, rather than shift, you know, currently what I was doing is like once or twice a week, I would have like 3 or 4 hour, like I'd sit down and play Overwatch, and just Overwatch. And try to grind out as much as possible. I think next season, during the day if possible, I think I'm going to sign on, do my 3 daily quests, and that's it. Like every day. Like just, you know, grind out however long it takes me to do the 3 daily quests, which if you're lucky, you can do in a single game. If you're unlucky, you can do in a single day. But usually the daily quests aren't too bad. So, you know, if they keep that and change the system a little bit, I can see progressing through the battle pass a little better, because now that I've crunched the math on it and I know how bad it is, going back and looking at me grinding that Genji skin, I was like, oh, I'm having fun. This is great, which is good. Like, that's what you want a battle pass to be as you're working your way through it. But, do I really want to do that every season at this point, putting 40 to 80 hours in? No. I have other stuff I want to play. Like, World of Warcraft came out. Final Fantasy will have new stuff. The Spider-Man game is out. God of War is out. There's so many games. Like, I'm in this actual downtime that I had before leading up to Dragonflight, I finally sat down and played Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I've had that sitting on my computer for over a year at this point. So it's going to get harder and harder to allocate the time to Overwatch as, the new shinies start grabbing me. So I hope they make some adjustments, and I have the spots in the script ready to adjust the timings if they make things a little easier, which God, I hope they do, but I'm not hopeful on it because they, one of the big things I was waiting for in the video was Warzone 2.0. And that system, you think this battle pass is bad, that system is much worse. Like, they basically are like, the shitty stuff in all the battle passes, what if we made that take a lot longer? Yeah, let's go with that idea. So I don't know, but even still, the time to unlock new heroes and characters, which don't really matter in Call of Duty, but the time to unlock stuff is still much faster because you're getting more of it. So the rewards are there at least, which I'll stop talking about the video at this point. But to like your original question, which was like, I don't know, like 20 minutes at this point now that I've ranted. I hope we see more events tied to the battle pass, because I think that's a fun way to tie it through. And I hope this is the point where they come through with that promise that they made, that they're going to give us a free skin tied to events. And even if it's an epic skin, who fucking cares? At least we're getting a free skin at this point. So
yeah, I mean, it'll just be a challenge whenever that event is happening.
Right. Play Battle for Olympus and, win 3 matches or play 9 games, whatever the convoluted system they come up with. As long as they don't tie it just to wins, because that's so RNG.
It's going to be win 7 games or lose 20 matches.
Yeah, exactly. But the same as their comp system. Excellent. Which, oh my God, that's I am already writing the script for that video on the comp video, and I haven't even finished placements yet.
Neither have I.
I did,
and I'm probably not going to.
I did. The problem is I would have finished placements because I did like a couple placements on one account, then I played with some friends and did a couple placements on a different account, and then I went back to that first account and did a few more placements on a different role, and then I'm just like, I don't know, I don't feel like playing comp anymore. Like, it's as sweaty as quick play can be sometimes. At least at the end of the day, I can be like, all right, it's fucking quick play, whatever, I'm going May. Whereas comp, I'm like, no, I gotta insta-lock Sojourn and I gotta try my nuts off, otherwise these internet strangers will be mad at me. So I don't know. Well, I have lots of ideas for the content drought that'll go up on our YouTube, but ending this whole conversation, season 2 looks good. They just need to fix some of the back end stuff at this point, because the gameplay is still solid. The cosmetics are great. They just need to find a delivery system that's a little, I don't even want to say more generous, but just a little more fair.
Yeah, a little bit more user friendly, you know.
So, but everything looks good so far. I can't wait to play Ramattra. I've been playing a lot of Reinhardt this week, just because it looks like he's gonna be not good next season. Like, it seems like Ramattra's just gonna shit on him. But who knows? Like, maybe he's a good counter to Ramattra. Like, if Ramatra's not in his nemesis form, maybe Reinhardt can just walk all over him. Like, I've definitely considered that as well. But we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah,
I think on like the Ramattra front, it would be more akin to like Sigma.
Yeah,
because they do have a lot of similarities. So for like Ramattra, I'm assuming a lot of it is going to be more about the shield placement. Because if it's a bad placement, then he could be more easily punished, much like a Sigma would be. Which, I've been having a blast playing Sigma with the amount of Roadhogs that have been running around. Just because everyone all of a sudden is like, oh my god, Hogs meta, let's insta lock him, and then they proceed to only hit 20% of their hooks. But not when we played him. When we were playing Hog, we were actually hooking quite a bit, which was great to see. Even though I hadn't really been practicing Roadhog for 12 seasons or however many fucking seasons it was.
Heroes never die. Yeah. Excellent hookers. You heard it here first.
Oh man, but yeah, definitely looking forward to season 2, and hopefully they'll have some fun with this Battle for Olympus game mode, whatever it will end up being. But all in all, fantastic cosmetics. My wallet is probably gonna cry regardless of whatever changes they're gonna implement with the shop prices. But just really looking forward to diving into the new hero. We'll see how Pharah's gonna do. I am so worried about the whole void aspect of it, just dragging you down. We'll see how easy that is to actually hit when you are airborne. But yeah, man, it's rough being a Pharah player out there, and Ramattra's not gonna help probably.
No. Yeah, but I mean, if the effect matches the graphic, which I assume it would, it doesn't go up very high, so it would be good for catching Pharahs and Mercies out if they've come down. More so Mercy, because good Pharahs can almost stay in the air the whole time. But actually, who I've been playing a lot recently is Echo. And this kind of makes me think that Echo is going to be pretty strong next season, because I think she's kind of a sleeper pick right now, because I was doing work with her and I am fucking terrible at Echo. I feel like I'm getting better at this point, but she is one of the only DPS heroes that can reliably burst down tanks. Outside of Roadhog in the middle of actually healing himself, she just melts any tank that gets in her way once they're under half health. And I don't think people have quite realized that yet, because I don't think people ever really got good with Echo, other than Dante and Yaki, the super GM players. But the more I play her, I'm like, dude, she can just go behind enemy lines, assassinate people, and then get out. Because her mobility is insane, whereas Pharah and Mercy, their mobility is good, but it's very static. You kind of know what to expect with it, outside of some of the bullshit Mercy movement tech that I don't think is intended. But hey, people maximizing that character.
What you don't like doing a guardian angel and hitting control to do a super jump?
Not even that. It's just the ping ponging.
Oh yeah. They're sometimes it can be extremely erratic.
But people like Aspen, actually, speaking of Aspen, have figured out how to do that purposefully, and they can ping pong back and forth purposely, and she's just unkillable. You can almost do the same thing on Echo if you know how to play her and abuse her cooldowns. So I think Ramattra is a much harder counter to those airborne characters, being Mercy and Pharah, than they are Echo. And Echo's already in a good spot. I just don't think people are paying attention to her because fucking Sojourn is everywhere. And people are like, well, Sojourn's the Echo counter. I had this argument with a friend the other day. He's like, Sojourn's the Echo counter. I'm like, Sojourn is the everything counter. At this point, she counters all the healers outside of maybe a Lucio full speed boosting, flopping around the map. She counters Ana. She counters every other DPS. The one DPS that is supposed to be able to handle a Sojourn regularly would be Widowmaker, because she can outrange her, but she can't. So that's why people are playing Roadhog, because Roadhogs are literally going in there and trying to hook the Sojourn. And Sojourn can't burst down Roadhogs reliably. So I think Echo's in a much better place than people give her credit for. So I am really excited for this. I hope Ana gets a buff, because Ana was always the big Roadhog counter. The problem is Ana's so stationary when she's shooting. Kiriko just shits on Ana. I can't tell you, my aim with Kiriko is bad. I can pull up my stats. It's I have like a 30% hit rate or something, and like an 8% critical hit rate. But I can hit Anna every single time because she's just like, all right, and I'm just like, cool, dead. Like, so I don't know. I'm excited for next season. I wish we had more time to do speculation, but it is getting pretty late. So I think that'll end my rambling for tonight.
All right. Well, we won't have to wait too much longer for season 2 to drop, as it is right around the corner. So, if you guys have been grinding out your last bit of, battle pass levels, make sure you do that before season 2 drops to unlock your mythic Genji skin for season 1. But in the meantime, of course, if you guys are looking to keep in contact with our podcast, you can reach us a number of different ways. You can follow us over on Twitter at HND Overwatch. We're also streaming every Thursday night over on our YouTube at youtube.com/Overwatch League Network. You can also find us by just, typing in HND Overwatch as well. And you can reach us over on Discord, as well as our community at discord.me/OWLN show. Now, I do know I mentioned, we're going to try to squeeze in a game night on one of the weekends coming up in December. It's we just got to figure out if we want to do it like on a Saturday night or a Sunday night, or like what the plan is going to be. But it's probably going to be like the week before Christmas, most likely. So it can be like mid-December. I'll let you guys know over in the Discord when we plan on doing it. But it will probably be like an early evening event, and then going on to midnight-ish. Probably Eastern time. Nothing super late like what we're kind of used to doing, because some of the podcast game nights are like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. We don't got time for that here. It's definitely too much. But if you want to stay up and play that late, you are more than welcome to do so. It's just not gonna be with me.
Nope, me neither.
But yeah, it's too much. But outside of that, of course, you can reach our hosts over on Twitter as well. You can find Ramses at Ramses_GG. You can find myself at Family Drunk, and Spyder. Where can our listeners reach you over there?
You can find me at _Spyder Gaming.
Sounds good. So with that being said, that will do it for us here tonight on Heroes Never Die. This has been episode number 243. Stay tuned here in a couple of weeks when we have our interview with Anjali Bhamani, aka Ramattra. Should be a good time, and I'm really looking forward to that, just because I know how energetic she is. So it's gonna be a really interesting dynamic when we sit down and talk. But should be a good time. But until then, we'll see you around in game, and of course, we'll reach you over on our Discord. Take care, guys.
See you.